Milwaukee County Sheriff Danita Ball, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Behind the Badge. Today, we're talking to the Crisis Assessment Response Team, better known as C.A.R.T. With me are clinician Patricia Moore and Deputy Philip Antoni. So, thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
All right,
Thanks for having us.
no problem. So, what is C.A.R.T?
CART, kind of like you said, it's in the name. It's crisis assessment, and we're a response team. So we go out to crises that involve mental health, where the person with a mental health disorder or illness is in a crisis, and they have contact with some form of law enforcement, and then that law enforcement agency would request us to come out and assess the person to get them connected to a resource and to de-escalate the situation.
So, what is the benefit of having you come out versus a law enforcement officer?
It's a good question. We do, as law enforcement within the state of Wisconsin, we get 720 hours in the academy, so we get a lot of training. But unfortunately, only 20 hours of that ends up being like crisis management.
Mhm.
And then in crisis management, you only get maybe 8 hours of abnormal psychology.
Mhm.
And then of abnormal psychology, you get very, very little of what it is like to deal with someone who is experiencing suicidal ideation or a psychotic break. So unfortunately, law enforcement doesn't get a lot of training when it comes to dealing with someone in a crisis, although we do get some, just not enough. And so it's very important for us to get out to these because with our co-responder team, we get a licensed therapist or a licensed social worker to join the law enforcement officer out on the scene so we can navigate the situation and get that person connected to a resource that will be beneficial to them outside of punishment through like the criminal justice system.
You said law enforcement officers don't get that much training. How much training do you get?
Um, Quite a bit actually, and then we also get the benefit of um, on the job apprenticeship.
Mhm.
So all the calls that we respond to, I think in the last couple of years, I've responded to over 600 welfare check calls. And then in the scope of a normal day-to-day deputy, they may only get 15 to 20 a year if they have a year that's welfare heavy. Some of them might not even get any. And so we get a lot of on the job training. Outside of that, I have a degree in psychology.
Mm.
I went to the crisis intervention training, which is like your entry level training for law enforcement. I've been to two different advanced crisis intervention trainings, and then I'll be on my way to crisis negotiator training come October. So we do get quite a bit of training
It
to
sounds
help the
like it.
community.
It
Yeah.
sounds like it. And you talked about the co-responder model. What does that mean?
So basically, what that means is you are partnered with law enforcement, as Deputy Anthony said, and a mental health professional.
Mhm.
Um, there's the training that the law enforcement officer has, and then the mental health specialty that the mental health professional has. So we go out, we offer the face-to-face assessments, determine if they're imminent danger to themselves, and then look at what that would be for the next step in their treatment, if it's keeping them in the community or referring them to a level of care.
Okay. So, how many teams do we have?
We have a total of two teams at this time.
Mhm.
Um, we eventually will go back to three teams. We
Mhm.
started with three teams, we're down to two. So that's where we're at right now.
And how many teams does Milwaukee County as a whole have?
So, as far as CART in general, MPD has five teams, West Dallas has one team, and then the county CART team has two.
And what are your hours?
Right now we work from 11 a to 11 p.m. And so we do have an overlap period where we have our first shift and second shift to help respond to calls.
So, um, when you're not in those hours, when you're not working, who responds? Because we know if someone is in a mental health crisis, it's not just between 11 a.m. and 11 p.m.
Mhm.
So, who will respond?
So one of the things about the crisis assessment response team in general is that um, we have our Milwaukee mobile crisis team.
Mhm.
So they're trained clinicians who are mental health professionals, and they could go out with law enforcement. So let's just say if there's a deputy that's on a call and he feel like the person is in a mental health crisis, they could request the mobile team.
Mhm.
And they're pretty much available from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday through Saturday. So they're not a 24-hour service, but it's another opportunity to be able to utilize that resource if our team is unavailable or not in service.
Okay. And what would you like the public to know about the C.A.R.T team?
That we're here to help, especially with mental health and crises. They could always reach out and connect with us through dispatch. So whether you're dialing 911 or your non-emergency number, you can request C.A.R.T that way and just request that the county send out a C.A.R.T team, and then we can make our way out there and help assist with connection to resources, which is the big thing, and helping navigate the Milwaukee County system so that they can get connected to someone who can help them for their specific need.
Okay. Can the public just call you up and say, hey, can you come out? You came out before. My son, my daughter, my loved one is in crises. Can you help? Or do they need to go through the regular route as if we were responding to a call for service?
Right now, how it works is they would connect through their dispatcher. And so when they make that call to dispatch and saying, I need help, they would also request C.A.R.T at that time to come out with the law enforcement so that everyone's aware that we understand that C.A.R.T is out there. It's a resource for law enforcement to use when they're responding to calls, and the community member can make that request when they're talking to dispatch or if they make that 911 call.
Okay. What follow up, if any, do you do?
So one of the things, whenever we have contact with the individual,
Mhm.
we ask their permission to follow up, and that's to check their status to see if they need to be linked to any resources or services. Some people they enjoy the contact and they want us to continue to follow up, but we want them to be able to link to the appropriate services so that way they can have a more stable disposition in the sense of being able to function in the community. So we do refer out to other resources, case management, link them to therapy or psychiatric services as far as like connecting with psychiatrists. So we have those tools to be able to let them know, like, hey, you got this, and this is the next step. So our follow up is it's beneficial because it gets that person to where they need to be, so they're not stunted in a sense of not being able to know how to continue on their journey.
We know recently the behavioral health unit closed. Have you seen a spike in the number of calls for service that you would normally respond to?
So I think the community believes that because the location is no longer there, that the services aren't. Um, the services are still accessible and available in the community. It's just the hospital itself isn't there. So as far as like a spike in the calls, I would say that there's still kind of the same. It's just that people don't know that our resource exists. So it's good that we're having this podcast so we can educate the community. We are still out in the community. We can still offer support. We still can be accessed. We want to be able to help. So, yeah, just reach out. So the only thing that isn't there is the physical hospital. Those resources still are in the community.
You said that a lot of the citizens don't know that your services are there. How else are you trying to get the word out that you are a resource that they can utilize?
So I know we've gone out and done contact with the community at resource fairs. There's been roll calls that have
Yeah,
been
roll
facilitated with.
calls, a lot of the trying to get the buy-in on the other municipalities to
Mhm.
buy into the sheriff's office C.A.R.T team to make that request. So we've been able to meet with a few of the chiefs most recently St. Francis, and they seemed very receptive with requesting us to come out to their calls to help the community. And so continuing to educate other officers. And so that's actually a big job, and making it out to all the 18 municipalities that we service as County C.A.R.T. And so we get to go out there and educate the officers on how we can be beneficial to them and finding long-term solutions for people.
Do you know approximately how many calls for service you do a month?
I did just recently look, just to yesterday, I looked on the CAT just to see what we did for this month so far. And I think between myself and then Deputy Griffin, his team on second shift, and then we do have Deputy Mahusky on second shift. Between us all, I think we have a total of 40 calls, right around there.
We definitely would like that to increase. We would like for people to
Absolutely.
utilize us. I just think that when people are in a crisis, especially when law enforcement is involved, that we are missed, but we are available to offer support. So we want to stress that to the community.
Okay. What advice do you have for someone that's going through a mental health crisis or their loved one that is, or caregiver who is trying to assist them? What advice would you give to them?
Just to keep in mind that they don't have to go through this alone, that there are resources, maybe just familiarizing themselves with how to access us. I think the easiest way for people to keep in mind is to call 211 or 911 and request mental health services. And so, based on the intensity of the call, the operator or dispatcher could say, hey, I think that this would be a good fit for you, just because they're very familiar with our service. So if people were to utilize that as the contact, they would know how to refer.
Okay. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Not at this time. No, I think I really enjoy the podcast, being able to connect with you and then connect with the community through you and this podcast, because it is CART is a thing I'm passionate about. It's really where I found my niche in law enforcement, is creating that connection for co-responder model teams to connect with law enforcement officers who don't have the training that we get access to, or don't have a psychology degree to know more in depth on abnormal psychology. It's unrealistic to expect law enforcement officers to have that amount of training that would be beneficial in those environments and still be able to do the other sides of their job. Um, so connecting to the community is great. Yeah.
I'd also like to put out there, if we are ever needed to present on another podcast to ask any follow up questions, we are here to support.
Yeah.
Any specific topics in regards to mental health, we could probably be a really good resource.
Okay.
So let the community, let the public know that, if they have questions or they want to specialize on the topic of questions, please feel free. We can come back and join.
Absolutely.
If they would like you to do a presentation, is there a number that you feel comfortable giving out?
Yeah, if someone wanted to reach out and connect, the work cell phone that I have, which would be a direct line to me, would be 414-391-7512. And you can reach out, leave me a voicemail, shoot me a text message, and then we can connect from there.
What's that number again?
414-391-7512.
Okay. Well, thank you both for joining me for this podcast.
You're
As you
welcome.
know, it's very important that we let the citizens know what resources we have, especially CART, because I think you may be underutilized just because they don't know that you're out there. So, this is, as you stated before, a good way to get that information out there. So, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for
And
having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
you're
we
very
appreciate it.
welcome. All right. Talking earlier with the clinician regarding the CART team, and so I wanted to bring you in so that your boots on the ground, you can share with the public what you do on a daily basis, and so that's what these questions are designed to do. My first question is, earlier it was mentioned that there are 3 teams in Milwaukee County. How does that work, and is there any overlap?
Sure. There are three teams. I believe West Dallas has a team, MPD, Milwaukee Police has a team, and then Milwaukee County has the team as well. Currently, we don't really have too much overlap at all. We kind of service our own jurisdictions, and Milwaukee County services the 17 municipalities that we get to support within the county.
There are some rare instances of overlap when we have a member of the community and we don't know their exact location. So somebody living in West Dallas who might be suicidal and we're concerned about them, we need to locate them generally. So if we can't find out where they are, we might use some type of electronic means to find them. And if we locate that they're in like the city of Franklin, we might call the sheriff's department team to go and try and find the person and assist Franklin. Or if they're in Milwaukee, we might call the Milwaukee team and let them know that there's an individual in crisis until that person can be safely stabilized and brought back to where they need to be, whether that's maybe a hospital or making sure that they can be safe at home.
Right, so this question is for all of you. As a law enforcement officer, why did you want to be part of the team?
Oh, I could speak. I'm a supervisor with the Milwaukee Police Department, so there was a posting. I'm fairly new, 3 months ago, and I've been on the department for 17 years, and a lot of what we deal with on the streets is mental health crisis. So I know how important it is, and I thought I can bring some of my experience, and I'm also crisis intervention trained to the team and be a part of a team. And I've heard that, well, not heard, I've seen that C.A.R.T is making a difference out there, and I wanted to be a part of that.
Corporal Taylor, what about you?
I would say that, parrying off what she said, the public generally doesn't call police because they're having a really good day, and so mental health is attached to so many different things because people are angry, upset, sad, something is wrong. So there's that element. And then in addition, with all of the people that we would interact with, whether that's a juvenile or an adult or maybe an older person, I believe that everybody deserves to have a good quality of life, or the best quality of life possible. And some people who are really, really sick with a mental health issue cannot see that for themselves. And so being able to kind of bring them up with their family or with other people and bring them back to a place where they can live a life not maybe trapped in their own mind or suffering with the various things that people, like hearing voices or seeing things, to actually live and have a good quality of life again. I believe everyone deserves that. And it's so rewarding to be able to follow people on their journeys to recovery so that they can once again be just like any of us in the community and enjoying life.
Good.
Yeah, similar to both. I really enjoy helping people who are experiencing mental health crisis. Mental health is something I'm passionate about. It's something that's been prevalent in my own family throughout the military service that I had. There's members in the military that also suffered with mental illness. And I really like supporting people to get the resources and help they need to live a better life, because at the end of the day, that's what we're
Talking earlier with the clinician regarding the C.A.R.T team, and so I wanted to bring you in so that your boots on the ground, you can share with the public what you do on a daily basis. And so that's what these questions are designed to do. My first question is, earlier it was mentioned that there are 3 teams in Milwaukee County. How does that work, and is there any overlap?
Sure. There are 3 teams. I believe West Dallas has a team, MPD, Milwaukee Police has a team, and then Milwaukee County has the team as well. Currently, we don't really have too much overlap at all. We kind of service our own jurisdictions, and Milwaukee County services the 17 municipalities that we get to support within the county.
There are some rare instances of overlap when we have a member of the community and we don't know their exact location. So somebody living in West Dallas who might be suicidal and we're concerned about them, we need to locate them generally. So if we can't find out where they are, we might use some type of electronic means to find them. And if we locate that they're in like the city of Franklin, we might call the sheriff's department team to go and try and find the person and assist Franklin. Or if they're in Milwaukee, we might call the Milwaukee team and let them know that there's an individual in crisis until that person can be safely stabilized and brought back to where they need to be, whether that's maybe a hospital or making sure that they can be safe at home.
Right, so this question is for all of you. As a law enforcement officer, why did you want to be part of the team?
Oh, I could speak. I'm a supervisor with the Milwaukee Police Department, so there was a posting. I'm fairly new, 3 months ago, and I've been on the department for 17 years, and a lot of what we deal with on the streets is mental health crisis. So I know how important it is, and I thought I can bring some of my experience, and I'm also crisis intervention trained to the team, and be a part of a team. And I've heard that, well, not heard, I've seen that C.A.R.T is making a difference out there, and I wanted to be a part of that.
Corporal Taylor, what about you?
I would say that, parrying off what she said, the public generally doesn't call police because they're having a really good day, and so mental health is attached to so many different things because people are angry, upset, sad, something is wrong. So there's that element. And then in addition, with all of the people that we would interact with, whether that's a juvenile or an adult or maybe an older person, I believe that everybody deserves to have a good quality of life, or the best quality of life possible. And some people who are really, really sick with a mental health issue cannot see that for themselves. And so being able to kind of bring them up with their family or with other people and bring them back to a place where they can live a life not maybe trapped in their own mind or suffering with the various things that people, like hearing voices or seeing things, to actually live and have a good quality of life again. I believe everyone deserves that. And it's so rewarding to be able to follow people on their journeys to recovery so that they can once again be just like any of us in the community and enjoying life.
Yeah, similar to both. I really enjoy helping people who are experiencing mental health crisis. Mental health is something I'm passionate about. It's something that's been prevalent in my own family throughout the military service that I had. There's members in the military that also suffered with mental illness, and I really like supporting people to get the resources and help they need to live a better life, because at the end of the day, that's what we're shooting for.
What type of training did you have to go through to be part of the Crisis Assessment Response Team?
I have previous 40-hour crisis intervention team training.
Okay. Any additional training?
Yes, I have that, and then I've taken various supplemental courses through, offered by various law enforcement partners, and also clinical trainings through the Behavioral Health Division of Milwaukee County. Before I began the program in the city of West Dallas, I did about a month-long training partnering with Behavioral Health Division of Milwaukee County, and actually with Milwaukee Police Department teams to really learn the ropes and kind of figure out how the program works.
When Milwaukee County stood up their program, I was able to apply with a resume, and fortunately for me, I believe in this situation, I have a degree in neuroscience psychology. I worked in a neuropsychology clinic for quite a bit prior to coming here, and then now I actually have crisis intervention training, advanced crisis intervention in homelessness and youth populations, and just the continued training that's available out there just allows us to really be the experts at what we do.
Okay. You've talked about a lot of training that you've gone to and through. Is there any training that you desire to have that you don't have at this point that would help you as a member of the C.A.R.T team?
The one training that eludes us that I think would be very beneficial for our team is crisis negotiator training.
Okay.
As it does encompass communication skills that we don't really get available to us in crisis intervention. And sometimes the calls that we go on are really escalated to a point where we just need to use those communication tactics to de-escalate and get to a level where we can communicate effectively with everybody in the community and
to resources. So I think that's one training that we've not been able to get into yet, but would be beneficial for all the C.A.R.T teams to be a part of, including clinicians.
Excellent.
I would agree with that, and I would also add the ability to have more exposure to training for people who have developmental disabilities and that are on the autism spectrum would be very beneficial. The trainings in the area are limited, but that's definitely a decent part of the population that we serve. So it'd be nice to have that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right. So prior to the C.A.R.T team being formed, how were similar calls handled?
Well, I would say for West Dallas that a hospital, a library, a school, someone in the community would call, police would go out and see the person, and they would speak to the person in crisis and try to determine if the person was immediately a danger to themselves or a danger to others, or really not caring for themselves. For example, not eating, not sleeping, not drinking water, those kinds of things. And the officers, before all of this, having very minimal training, might believe that the person is a danger to themselves and had no other ways to explore if the person was truly safe. And so because a person made a comment, perhaps out of anger because something went bad that day, they might say, well, I don't want to be here anymore. So the officer concerned might force the person to be assessed by a psychiatrist and take away that person's rights. And that was way more intrusive than it otherwise should have been. But this was years ago because officers lacked the training, and we have a huge concern for ensuring that people are safe and can remain safe. And so if an officer has a doubt, unfortunately, they would just pursue that route and put that on a psychiatrist to make a decision because there was no other option.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, what do you like most about being on the team, and how do you think that you're making a difference?
Being fairly new, I feel like I'm learning every day. Like Corporal Taylor has been on for years. You too?
A couple years now. With
Yeah,
the sheriff's
so
team.
they just hold a wealth of knowledge, and I feel like every day I'm learning. So that's what I like about it. And I feel like my officers, and you guys too, not to, C.A.R.T as a whole is making a difference out there. So
I think I can speak for all of the teams. When you get familiar with people in the community who struggle with mental health issues and you respond, you go out as a team, and they're relieved to see you. They might say, oh, thank God it's you, or I was hoping that you were available, and you are a comfort to them rather than getting a police officer or something like that. So it's nice to be able to get to know and learn the members, learn more about the members of the community. You can see them, you can say hello to them, even if they're not in crisis, and they know that they've been seen and they've been heard and that you respect them as a human being, rather than just ignoring them because somebody might think that they're different. The differences in West Dallas over the past 5 years, or a little over 5 years ago when our team began, is attempted and completed suicides in the city have been reduced by 2/3. People who have been placed involuntarily under mental health commitments have been reduced by 2/3. And people who need hospitalization for mental health issues that agree to go in of their own accord, those have also been reduced by about 2/3. So we have seen huge reductions in people ending up in crisis in the city of West Dallas.
Wow, that is impressive. Very impressive. So,
I think that's well said too. And that's for me the long-term solutions. It seems like when we go out to calls that it's these short-term solutions that we're trying to find, but it does create these long-term relationships with the community members that we're able to create these long-term solutions that results in a decrease in suicides in our population, as well as being able to connect them to further supports, resources, being able to spend time and reconnect with the community so that they can continue to be supported. So being able to be a support is a big reason why I like being a part of C.A.R.T.
thank you. So how has working for the Crisis Assessment Response Team changed your perspective or your viewpoint regarding mental health or mental illness?
It's really opened my eyes to the importance of taking care of ourselves and practicing good self-care in the workplace with the trauma that we do get to experience, unfortunately. And then the importance of supports and utilizing our supports, the prevalence of mental illness, and how really a lot of the people we know around us struggle with mental illness, and we can all be a support to each other. And it's not just the call we go out to support somebody on. We can actually support our coworkers who may also be struggling with mental illness. It's really opened my eyes that everybody struggles with mental illness in a way, and we all need to support each other.
Yeah, truly. I mean, mental health doesn't discriminate based on how wealthy you are, where you were born, how old you are. It affects everybody. I would say this position has really humbled me in encountering people where most of the people would, might say to their friend, well, just stop feeling that way, or knock it off, or just, go do this or go do that. People don't choose to have these things, and they suffer with them. So it's really been helpful for me to learn more patience with people, because, understanding that they don't have a choice in this, and this is just something that they're affected with. I mean, we all have our different things in life, whether it's a health condition or a mental health condition or something else. And like he was saying, being supportive to one another, being patient with one another, recognizing that they have just as much worth as a human being as I do, and trying to support them in any way that I can to help them again, kind of get back to where I would like myself to be, and where we all deserve to be, as having, a decent quality of life in this country.
There's a lot of resources out there. It's opened my eyes to that. The clinicians have a wealth of knowledge and information that they can pass on to, us officers being out there on the streets. And yeah, I mean, before being on C.A.R.T, I didn't realize how much it was. I mean, I think you guys can speak more on that, but there is help out there. So it's opened my eyes to that.
So what do you think is important that the public knows about mental health or mental illness?
As cheesy as it sounds, you're not alone. I personally struggle with mental health. Every now and then we all get our routine checkups, and there's certain things that work for us. We rely on supports, and we use supports around us to make ourselves better, and feel supported in that. And we're not alone. I may struggle with it. Someone else on the team may struggle with it. Your family members may struggle with it. There's more people out there struggling with it that's not asking for help. And the more we desensitize people to that and allow that stigma to go away so that people can reach out for help, the better off we're gonna be, so.
Yeah, again, coming back to it's not a decision that person makes. I often make an analogy to somebody that gets injured playing a game of basketball. They might injure their knee, and I might talk to the person, because just because somebody is struggling doesn't mean you have to take medications or have to do this or have to do that. But somebody who injures their knee will probably end up going at some point to physical therapy to rehabilitate their knee so they can continue and have life without pain. It's the same thing with our brains. It's just take away the physical part of it, and it's therapy. It's reworking and retraining so that it can function, your brain can function the way that it's supposed to. And it's, easy enough to be done, and so many of us struggle with the difficulties, of life, especially as we get older, and have to try to bear one another's burdens and things. So knowing that the people as well that are at hospitals, that are in these roles, we're not here to judge you. We intentionally get into these roles, or if you go to a hospital for treatment, people aren't judging you. They went through school and went through training because they want to be able to help people in those positions. They didn't go through school in order to judge people. They went in order to help people. So knowing that the people there are there to support you and try to help you recover.
Sandra?
I agree. I mean, what they both said is, I agree that we're here to help, and that I do see that now people actually do call dispatch and request C.A.R.T, and responding officers get to a scene and they request C.A.R.T. So I do feel like that the word is getting out, and then they see us as the helpers, so we're here to help. And you can request C.A.R.T via dispatch or through an officer. So that's what I want them to know, that they're not alone.
All right. Thank you so much. It's important to have these conversations so that the public is aware of the services that our agencies provide. And I really thank you for opening our eyes up to what the Crisis Assessment Response Team does. And I would like to invite the public to tune in for future segments that's coming soon. So thank you so much. Appreciate it.